Angry birds. Okay, so far that's my opinion of urban wildlife is angry birds. Normally, I'm in Saskatoon, Canada in the winter. Not a whole lot going on photography-wise in the winter. This was a rare spring trip up north. Now, unfortunately, I had to stay in the city, so I decided to do a little bit of urban wildlife photography along the South Saskatchewan River. I was traveling light, so I didn't film a lot of video. I wanted to work with the different focusing modes and see how they function with the RF 100-500 lens. Let's take a look at what I got. Birds are pretty much the order of the day. I got a few shots of a bird that I'm familiar with from Indiana, a robin. Here I was really amazed at the detail that I was able to pull out of this photo, even down to the smallest feather. I really like this lens. But something tells me this little guy was not happy to get his photo taken, hence the angry bird look that I'm getting. I also discovered that zoomed in this tight, a small little bird like that can poof, disappear and fly away without me getting a single shot. Anyhow, here's another bird that, well, I've never seen before. Doing a Google image search, I discovered this is called a black-beaked magpie. That is something that I like about travel. I get to see new animals that otherwise I would never get to see. He was a fast mover, so I only got a few shots. Still though, it was cool to see something new. The Canadian goose. These guys were everywhere, making it necessary to watch my step. Let's just say they left their mark everywhere. The cool thing is, they weren't afraid of me. This allowed me to get in close and really capture the details. I'm not a fan of any human-made element in my wildlife photos. The bridge in the background, for example. I feel that just takes away from the wilderness feeling that the photo could have had. Yep, this big bird does not look happy with me either. How about this one? This is an American white pelican. You can see him giving me the evil eye. Again, another angry bird. Now, it might be because I was intruding on mating season. You see that horn on his bill? They grow those during mating season. It wasn't like I caught him in the middle of the act or anything. Being a large bird, I was able to capture a few of them with their wings spread without having a motion blur. With my ISO set to 1600 and using the full 500 millimeters of my lens, I was able to capture more than just the ordinary floating down the river photos. I felt this one was better as a square crop to help keep the focus on the pelican and not some of the distracting elements that were in front of him. Even though the city website said that occasionally they get a moose in the city, I wasn't lucky enough to see one. I did cross the river a few miles away from my hotel and was treated to some ground squirrels. At first I thought they were prairie dogs, but they were much too small, at least compared to the South Dakota variety. I love how the RF 100-500 kept these little guys in focus and provided for a smooth bokeh effect in both the foreground and the background. I got the camera lens as close as possible to the ground to try and get a little grass in that foreground to help provide, some depth and layers to the photo. Okay, so I had some angry birds and some rodents. Now, I actually took over 1,400 images, but in the end, I only liked about 30 of them. Now, I did learn a few things on this particular trip. Obviously, I played around with the different focusing modes of my EOS R camera in combination with the RF 100-500. So I really learned a lot there. I also discovered that I am going to have to shoot at higher ISOs. Now that's okay, because I've been experimenting with Adobe Lightroom's AI denoise. Yes, it does take quite a bit of time for it to run, but it does some pretty amazing things to the noise that you get from using a high ISO. So I'm not so afraid to use a high ISO any longer. Now, I also took a look at how many photos I can take in high speed mode before my camera starts to slow down a bit. And I discovered I can take 28 photos and store them in that buffer before the buffer gets full. And then it takes probably about 15 to 20 seconds for the buffer to completely empty. So for that reason, what I started doing was shooting in bursts. So I left my camera in high speed mode and just photographed in burst. And what that did is allowed me to capture a lot of really unique moments without missing too much, and it also prevented me from filling that buffer, which would have prevented me from snapping any photos. So I'm going to continue doing urban wildlife photography because I've discovered I can capture animals like this. Talk about an angry animal. But you guys will have to wait 2 more weeks to see that episode. Thank you for watching and take care.